friendship codes, and moving to support positions around her fleet. Commander Va, the war that the Galactic Council expected to last weeks was over in 6 months. But it did not end the way anyone had predicted. Supreme Chancellor Vorthak stood in the ruins of the Council chamber on Nexus Prime, watching through the broken windows as human and allied ships patrolled the skies above the capital world. For 2,000 years, no enemy vessel had ever approached the heart of galactic civilization. Now, ships from species the Council thought they had eliminated were landing on the planet's surface. The final battle had not been the massive fleet engagement that Council strategists had planned. Instead, it had been a series of lightning raids that struck at the hidden installations the Council had used to maintain their power for millennia. Admiral Helen Brooks walked into the chamber, followed by Commander Keth Valros of the Free Corvashi and representatives from 8 other species that had survived the Council's elimination campaigns. Behind them came Director Kate Williams, who had traveled from Earth to witness the end of the galactic order that had ruled for so long. "Supreme Chancellor," Williams said formally, "on behalf of the Free Species Alliance, I am here to discuss the terms of the Council's surrender." Vorthak looked at the human leader with his ancient eyes. She was young by his standards, probably not even 100 years old. Yet she had somehow managed to accomplish what 2,000 years of resistance movements had failed to achieve. How? Vorthak asked simply. Williams understood the question. "How did we win against impossible odds?" The old alien nodded. "You made a mistake," Williams replied. "You assumed that we were like every other species you had encountered. You thought that if you could isolate us and apply enough pressure, we would eventually submit or be destroyed." Commander Valros stepped forward. "But humans are different. From any species in galactic history, they do not expand because they need resources or territory. They expand because they are curious about what lies beyond the next star." Williams continued the explanation. "When you tried to contain us, you only made us more determined to explore. When you threatened us, you united every human colony and ship under a single purpose. And when you killed our scientists at Research Station Beta, you gave us a cause worth dying for." The truth was even more complex than Williams let on. Humanity's victory had not come from superior technology or better tactics, though both had played important roles. The real advantage had been something the Council could never have predicted. Humans were the first species in galactic history to achieve interstellar travel while still maintaining dozens of different nations, cultures, and ways of thinking. Every other species had unified their entire civilization before reaching the stars. This made them predictable to Council strategists who thought in terms of single-minded species with clear hierarchies and logical decision-making processes. But humanity brought chaos to the galaxy. Human ships operated under different command structures. Human colonies were governed by different laws and traditions. Human military units used tactics developed by dozens of different cultures over thousands of years of warfare. The Council's artificial intelligence systems, designed to predict and counter the behavior of unified civilizations, could not process the contradictions and apparent randomness of human actions. When human forces did something that made no logical sense, Council commanders assumed it was a mistake and failed to prepare proper responses. Admiral Brooks had demonstrated this during the Battle of Vega Prime, when she deliberately split her outnumbered fleet and attacked the massive Council fortress from 6 different directions simultaneously. By all logical analysis, the attack should have failed catastrophically. Instead, the divided human forces confused the Council defenders so completely that the fortress fell in less than 4 hours. But the real turning point had come when humanity did something that the Council had never encountered in 2 millennia of galactic dominance. Instead of trying to destroy Council forces, human ships began broadcasting the truth about the Council's elimination campaigns to every inhabited world in the galaxy. Dr. Andrew Kim, now commanding a fleet of communication ships, had broken the encryption codes that protected Council historical archives. The evidence of 2,000 years of systematic genocide was transmitted to billions of aliens who had believed the Council's propaganda about peaceful order and voluntary cooperation. The reaction was immediate and explosive. Species that had been loyal Council members for centuries rose up in rebellion when they learned what had happened to the civilizations that had refused to join the Galactic Order. Even some of the original builders turned against their own creation when they realized how far the Council had strayed from its founding principles. Captain Parker, now commanding the diplomatic corps of the Free Species Alliance, had coordinated with rebel movements on over 100 worlds. The simultaneous uprisings had stretched Council forces so thin that they could no longer maintain control over their own territory, much less continue their war against humanity. The Council's greatest strength was also its greatest weakness. Williams explained to Vorthak. You maintained order by keeping the truth hidden, but once that truth was revealed, your entire system collapsed. Vorthak looked around the chamber where the Council had ruled for so long. What happens now? Will you simply replace our order with your own? Commander Valros spoke for the allied species. No, Supreme Chancellor. We have all learned the price of concentrated power. The galaxy is large enough for every species to grow and develop according to their own nature. Williams activated a holographic display that showed the new galactic map. Instead of the rigid sectors controlled by the Council, it showed thousands of independent systems connected by voluntary trade routes and mutual defense agreements. The Free Species Alliance is not a government, Williams explained. It is a mutual protection agreement between civilizations that choose to remain independent. Any species that wants to join the alliance must agree to 3 simple principles. No species has the right to control another. No civilization can claim exclusive ownership of star systems they do not actively inhabit. And any attempt to recreate the Council's elimination protocols will be met with the combined resistance of all alliance members. Dr. Elena Vasquez, who had returned from her archaeological work to help establish the new order, brought up another holographic display. We've also found evidence of over 40 species that the Council classified as eliminated, but who actually survived in hidden refuges. We're working to re-establish contact and help them rebuild their civilizations. Vorthak studied the displays with growing amazement. You are giving up the chance to rule the galaxy? We never wanted to rule the galaxy, Williams replied. We just wanted the freedom to explore it. 6 months after the end of the war, Admiral Brooks stood on the observation deck of the UES Defiance as it approached a star system that had been forbidden to all travelers for over 1,000 years. Her sensors detected massive artificial structures orbiting the system's primary star, clearly the work of an advanced civilization. Admiral, we're receiving a transmission, reported Lieutenant Rodriguez. It's in a language our computers don't recognize, but the mathematical patterns suggest an attempt at communication. Brooks smiled. This was why humans had fought so hard for their freedom. Not for the right to conquer or control, but for the simple joy of meeting new civilizations and learning about the incredible diversity of life in the universe. Send a standard friendship greeting, Brooks ordered. Let them know we come in peace and that we're interested in establishing contact. The response came quickly, in broken but understandable English. Welcome, humans. We have heard of your great victory over the Council. We are the Shatar Commonwealth, and we have been waiting 800 years for the chance to rejoin galactic civilization. Throughout the galaxy, similar scenes were playing out as humanity's exploration fleets made contact with civilizations that had been hidden or suppressed by the Council's rigid order. Each new discovery brought fresh knowledge, new technologies, and new perspectives on what was possible when species were free to develop according to their own nature. Back on Earth, Director Williams stood in the same meeting room where humanity had first decided to reject the Galactic Council's treaties. The holographic displays now showed a galaxy transformed, with thousands of independent civilizations working together through voluntary cooperation rather than forced submission. The reports from our exploration fleets are remarkable, Williams told her advisors. We've made contact with over 200 species that the Council either ignored or actively suppressed. The technological and cultural exchange opportunities are beyond anything we could have imagined. Colonel Murphy, now commanding the Alliance's Rapid Response Forces, reviewed the security situation. There are still some former Council hardliners causing trouble in the outer systems, but nothing our Alliance partners can't handle. The galaxy is more peaceful now than it has been in centuries. Captain Parker activated a communication link that connected Earth with Alliance headquarters on the former Council world of Nexus Prime. Director, we're receiving applications for Alliance membership from 12 new species this week. Captain Jake Morrison stared at the data screen in his quarters aboard the New Horizon. The numbers made no sense. For 3 weeks, he had been reviewing supply logs from their diplomatic mission to Zentara Prime, and something was wrong. Very wrong. The ship hummed quietly around him as it traveled through hyperspace back to Earth. His crew believed they had just completed another successful diplomatic meeting with the Galactic Council. They had no idea what Jake had discovered hidden in the communication files. Dr. Lisa Parker knocked on his door. Jake, you missed dinner again. The crew is starting to worry about you. Jake looked up from his screen. Lisa had been his friend since they both joined the Earth Defense Force 15 years ago. She was the best xenobiologist in human space and had served as their diplomatic translator during the council meetings. If anyone could help him understand what he had found, it was her. Lisa, I need you to look at something. But first, seal the door and activate privacy mode. Lisa's face grew serious. She pressed the controls that would block any listening devices. What's going on? Jake turned his screen toward her. I found encrypted files in the Council's data. Transfer. They thought they were hidden. But human computer systems are different from theirs. We can see patterns they cannot. Lisa moved closer to read the screen. Her face went pale as she translated the alien text. This cannot be right. These are biological survey reports about humans. Detailed genetic analysis. Neural mapping. Jake, this reads like we are laboratory animals being studied. Keep reading, Jake said, his voice tight with anger. Lisa scrolled through more files. Her hands began to shake. They have been taking genetic samples from every human who visits. Council space, blood tests, hair samples, even dead skin cells. They are building a complete map of human DNA. Jake pulled up another file. This one is worse. Look at the date. This report is from 40 years ago, 10 years before humans even made contact with the Council. Lisa read the file twice before speaking. They were watching us, studying us, from space while we thought we were alone in the universe. They planned this entire first contact scenario. Commander Ryan Foster appeared on Jake's communication screen. His face was grim. Captain, you need to come to the bridge now. We just received a priority message from Earth that makes no sense. Jake and Lisa hurried to the bridge. Ryan showed them the message on the main screen. It was from Admiral Kate Sullivan on Earth, but the words were coded in an old military cipher that had not been used in decades. Lisa worked to decode the message while Jake and Ryan watched. When she finished, she read it aloud. Earth colonies under attack. Council fleets involved. Do not return to Earth. Stay hidden. Trust no one from Council space. That is impossible, Ryan said. The Council protects human colonies. We have a peace treaty. Jake felt sick to his stomach. The pieces were falling into place. No, Ryan, we never had a treaty. We had a trap. He ordered the ship to drop out of hyperspace immediately. They were still 2 days from Earth. But Jake needed time to think. He called a meeting with his senior officers and told them everything he had discovered. Dr. Lisa Parker presented the biological data. The Council has been harvesting human genetic material for 50 years. They are particularly interested in our brain chemistry and muscle structure. The reports call humans optimal biological weapons because of our adaptability and aggression. Ryan Foster had been analyzing the military implications. Captain, if this is true, then the Council fleet stationed around Earth is not there to protect us. They are there to contain us. Jake nodded grimly. And if we become too powerful or discover their plan, they will destroy Earth completely. The bridge fell silent as the crew absorbed this information. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez, their communications officer, spoke first. Sir, what do we do now? Jake looked at each of his officers. These were good people who had believed they were serving humanity's future among the stars. Now they learned that future was a lie. We warn everyone, Jake said. Every human ship, every colony, every settlement. We broadcast the truth across all frequencies. The Council will try to stop us, Ryan warned. Let them try, Jake replied. But first, we need to get this information to people who can use it. Lisa, can you create a data package that any human computer can read? Lisa was already working at her station. I can embed the files in a standard news broadcast format. Any human communication system will automatically decode and display the information. Jake turned to Amy. Prepare to broadcast on all human frequencies. Include emergency protocols so every ship and station will be forced to receive the message. Sir, Amy said, once we start broadcasting, every Council ship in this sector will know where we are. Jake smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Good. Let them come. It is time they learned what happens when you betray humanity. The New Horizon began broadcasting the truth about the Galactic Council's betrayal. The message spread across human space faster than any Council ship could travel. On Earth, in the colonies, on trading stations and exploration vessels, humans learned that their trusted allies had been their captors all along. Within hours, Jake's communication board lit up with responses from human ships across the galaxy. Anger, disbelief, and then determination flooded the channels as humanity realized they had been living a lie for 50 years. The Galactic Council had made one critical mistake in their calculations about humanity. They assumed that because humans could be deceived, they could be controlled. They never considered what would happen when humans discovered the truth and decided to fight back. As the New Horizon changed course toward the nearest human military base, Jake Morrison knew that the galaxy was about to learn why humanity had conquered its own world and reached for the stars. The Council thought they were hunting sheep, but they had awakened wolves. Admiral Kate Sullivan stood in the command center on Mars Base Alpha, watching reports flood in from across human space. Every screen showed the same thing. Humanity was waking up angry. Captain Jake Morrison's broadcast had reached every human settlement in the galaxy. The truth about the Galactic Council's betrayal spread like fire through dry grass. Now Kate had to figure out how to keep her species alive long enough to fight back. Admiral, called Lieutenant Ben Clark from the communications station. We have confirmation that Council fleets are moving toward all major human colonies. Their ships are powering weapons. Kate nodded grimly. She had expected this. The Council would try to silence humanity before they could organize resistance. Order all civilian ships to evacuate immediately. Military vessels are to escort them to the asteroid belt mining stations. Dr. Marcus Webb entered the command center carrying a data pad filled with weapon designs. He had been working without sleep since the truth came out, developing new technologies based on old human military projects that the Council had made them abandon. Admiral, I have something that might help, Marcus said, connecting his pad to the main display. Remember the kinetic bombardment systems we developed before joining the Council? They made us shut down the project because it was too aggressive for civilized space warfare. Kate studied the designs. Tungsten rods dropped from orbit, simple physics, no exotic energy signatures for their sensors to detect. Exactly, Marcus said. And I have been working on improvements. stealth coatings, guidance systems, and variable yield warheads. We can turn any cargo ship into a weapons platform. Captain Sam Torres spoke up from the tactical station. Admiral, I have been analyzing the Council's attack patterns. They are hitting our outer colonies first, working their way toward Earth. They think they can crush us piece by piece. Kate saw the opportunity immediately. How long before they reach the inner colonies? 72 hours, Sam replied. That gives us time, Kate said. She turned to address the entire command center. Contact every human ship captain, every mining station chief, every colony administrator. Tell them we are not running away. We are drawing the Council into a trap. Over the next 3 days, humanity transformed from peaceful colonists into warriors. Mining ships became missile platforms. Cargo haulers turned into troop transports. Even passenger liners were fitted with weapons taken from decommissioned military vessels. Captain Sam Torres led the evacuation of the outer colonies, but it was not a retreat. Every human ship carried evacuees, yes, but they also carried something else. Anger and determination to make the Council pay for their betrayal. Dr. Lisa Parker arrived at Mars base with intelligence gathered from the New Horizons mission. She brought data about Council ship designs, weapon systems, and most importantly, their psychology. The Council species think like bureaucrats, Lisa explained to Kate and her staff. They plan everything in committees. They avoid risk. They have never fought an enemy that adapts as quickly as humans do. Kate smiled for the first time in days. Then we will give them something they have never seen before. The first major test came at New Terra, humanity's largest agricultural colony. Council ships arrived expecting to find defenseless farmers. Instead, they found Captain Jake Morrison waiting for them with a fleet of converted mining vessels. Jake had used the 3 days well. He took every mining ship in the system and loaded them with the tungsten rods that Dr. Marcus Webb had designed. When the Council fleet dropped out of hyperspace, they faced what looked like a small group of workships. The Council commander sent a surrender demand, threatening to destroy the colony if the humans did not submit immediately. Jake's response was simple. He launched every tungsten rod his ships carried. The Council vessels had shields designed to stop energy weapons and missiles. They were not prepared for chunks of metal traveling at significant fractions of light speed. The rods punched through their shields like paper and turned their ships into expanding clouds of debris. The remaining Council ships tried to retreat, but Jake had positioned his vessels to block the hyperspace exit points. Every enemy ship was destroyed, and Jake broadcast the battle footage across the galaxy. Admiral Kate Sullivan watched the battle recordings with satisfaction. Send copies of this to every human settlement. Show them that the Council can be beaten. But the victory at New Terra was just the beginning. Reports came in from across human space of similar battles. Humans were using tactics that no Council species had ever imagined. They fought dirty, took risks, and adapted faster than their enemies could respond. Captain Sam Torres reported success in his special operations missions. Admiral, we have extracted over 2,000 human prisoners from Council research facilities. The things they were doing to our people. It makes fighting easier when you know what we are fighting against. The rescued prisoners brought valuable intelligence about Council technology and weaknesses. They also brought stories that fueled human anger even more. Families torn apart, children experimented on, entire bloodlines studied like laboratory animals. Dr. Marcus Webb continued developing new weapons at an incredible pace. The beauty of human engineering, he told Kate, is that we do not follow the rules. The Council builds weapons the safe way, the tested way. We build weapons that work, even if they are dangerous to use. One of his new designs turned cargo containers into guided missiles. Another converted mining lasers into ship-killing weapons. Every day brought new innovations as humanity's engineering creativity was unleashed for warfare. But the most important development was not technological. It was psychological. Humans across the galaxy were uniting like never before. Colony disputes were forgotten. Political differences were set aside. Humanity had found something that brought them together, a common enemy that had betrayed their trust. Admiral Kate Sullivan knew that the real war was just beginning. The Council would not give up easily, and they had resources that humanity could only dream of. But humans had something the Council had never expected: the willingness to sacrifice everything for their freedom. As reports continued to come in of human victories across the galaxy, Kate allowed herself to hope. The Council had spent 50 years studying humanity, thinking they understood what humans were capable of. They were about to learn that they had only seen humanity at peace. Now, they would face humanity at war, and that was something entirely different. The hunters had become the hunted, and humanity was just getting started. General Nathan Brooks studied the tactical display showing the entire galaxy. Red dots marked Council forces, blue dots showed human positions, and green dots represented neutral alien species. The pattern was clear: humanity was winning, and the Council was running scared. 6 months had passed since Jake Morrison's broadcast revealed the Council's betrayal. In that time, humanity had transformed from victims into the galaxy's most feared military force. Now, Nathan faced a new challenge: turning military victories into lasting change. "General," called engineer Amy Rodriguez from her workstation, "the new ship designs are ready for testing. We have combined human engineering with captured Council technology, and the results are impressive." Nathan walked over to examine Amy's latest creation. The blueprints showed a ship unlike anything ever built before. It combined human creativity with alien science to create something that was greater than the sum of its parts. "The Council builds ships for specific purposes," Amy explained. "Warships for fighting, cargo ships for transport, science ships for research. Humans build ships that can do everything. This design can fight a battle, carry supplies, and conduct research missions all at the same time." Captain Ben Clark entered the command center with reports from his stealth fleet operations. His ships had been hunting Council leadership across the galaxy, and the results were devastating to enemy morale. "General, we successfully eliminated the Council military commander at Vega Station. Their response time to human attacks has increased by 40% since their leadership started disappearing." Nathan nodded approvingly. Humans fought wars differently than any Council species. While aliens focused on big battles between fleets, humans understood that wars were won by breaking the enemy's will to fight. Dr. Lisa Parker had been leading diplomatic missions to alien species that were questioning their loyalty to the Council. Her success rate was remarkable, and Nathan understood why. Humans were natural diplomats when they wanted to be. "General," Lisa reported, "3 more species have declared neutrality in the conflict. The Altarians have offered to provide medical supplies to human colonies, and the Kepler Federation wants to open trade negotiations." This was exactly what Nathan had hoped for. The Council ruled through fear and control, but humans offered something different: genuine partnership based on mutual respect. Captain Sam Torres brought news from the front lines. "Sir, Council forces have abandoned their positions in the outer rim territories. They are falling back to defend their core worlds. Our advance units report that several alien species are rebelling against Council rule." Nathan felt satisfaction, but remained cautious. "They are not retreating, Sam. They are consolidating their forces for a major counterattack. The Council still has numerical superiority and better technology in some areas." Dr. Marcus Webb had been working on solutions to that problem. His latest innovations had given human forces significant advantages, but he knew the Council was adapting too. "General, our biggest advantage is speed of innovation. By the time the Council develops countermeasures for our weapons, we have already moved on to the next generation. But they are learning to adapt faster." Nathan understood the implications. Humanity's technological edge would not last forever. They needed to win this war before the Council could fully adjust to human tactics. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Captain Jake Morrison contacted Nathan with intelligence gathered during a raid on a council research station. "General, we found something incredible," Jake reported via secure communication. "The council has not been sharing their advanced technology with most of their member species. They keep the best weapons and ships for themselves and give outdated equipment to everyone else." Nathan saw the opportunity immediately. "How many species know about this?" "We are broadcasting the information now," Jake replied. "Technical specifications, performance comparisons, everything. The Council's allies are learning that they have been treated as second-class citizens for centuries." The effect was immediate and devastating to Council unity. Species that had served the Council loyally for generations discovered that they had been deliberately kept weak and dependent. The revelations triggered rebellions across Council space. Admiral Kate Sullivan coordinated the human response to these developments from her command post on Mars. "Nathan, we have requests for military support from over 20 alien species. They want help overthrowing Council occupation forces." Nathan made the decision that would change the course of the HFY War. "Send them weapons, advisors, and training materials. But make it clear that we are not conquering their worlds. We are helping them free themselves." This strategy proved more effective than any military campaign. Humans became liberators rather than invaders, and alien species began volunteering to join human forces. The rebellion spread faster than Council fleets could respond. Engineer Amy Rodriguez worked around the clock to produce weapons and equipment for humanity's new allies. Her factories on the asteroid mining stations churned out rifles, communication, gear, and small spacecraft designed specifically for resistance operations. "General, production is exceeding all estimates," Amy reported. "Turns out that alien workers are incredibly motivated when they are building weapons to free their own people instead of being forced to work for the Council." Captain Ben Clark expanded his stealth operations to include training alien resistance fighters. "Sir, these species have been oppressed for so long that they have developed incredible survival skills. They know their home systems better than any Council occupier, and they are eager to fight." Dr. Lisa Parker found herself mediating between different alien species as they worked together for the first time in centuries. "General, the Council deliberately kept their member species isolated from each other. Now that they are communicating directly, they are discovering how much they have in common. The war was becoming something larger than humanity versus the Council. It was becoming a galaxy-wide revolution against tyranny and oppression. Humans had become the spark that ignited a fire that was spreading everywhere. But Nathan knew the Council would not surrender easily. Intelligence reports indicated they were preparing for a massive counteroffensive using their most advanced ships and weapons. The final battle was approaching, and it would determine the future of every species in the galaxy. Captain Sam Torres brought the latest tactical assessment. "General, Council forces are massing around their home system. They have pulled back almost all their fleets from occupied territories. It looks like they are preparing for a last stand." Nathan studied the reports carefully. The Council was making the same mistake that many of Earth's historical empires had made. They were focusing all their strength in one place, leaving their territories undefended. "This is our chance," Nathan told his staff. "While they prepare their defenses, we will liberate every world they have abandoned. When we finally attack their home system, they will have nothing left to retreat to." The plan was ambitious, but Nathan had learned to trust human audacity. In 6 months, humanity had gone from victims to liberators. Now they were about to become the dominant power in the galaxy, not through conquest, but through the simple act of offering freedom to those who had never known it. The Council had betrayed humanity thinking they were strong enough to destroy them. Instead, they had awakened a force that would transform the galaxy forever. President Carol Mitchell stood before the assembled representatives of 43 species in the Grand Hall of New Geneva Station. 1 year ago, this meeting would have been impossible. The Galactic Council had deliberately prevented their member species from communicating with each other, maintaining control through isolation and ignorance. Now everything had changed. The human coalition had grown from a desperate resistance movement into a galactic alliance based on principles the Council had never understood: voluntary cooperation, shared knowledge, and mutual respect. Friends and allies, Carol began, her voice carrying to every corner of the hall through translation devices that converted her words into dozens of languages. Today, we make the final preparations to end the Council's tyranny forever. Admiral Jack Thompson presented the military situation from the tactical display. The galaxy map showed Council forces concentrated around their core systems, while Coalition forces controlled nearly 70% of former Council territory. The enemy has made a critical error, Jack explained. They have abandoned their outer territories to defend their homeworld of Zentara Prime. This concentration of forces appears strong, but it leaves them with no fallback positions and no strategic depth. Dr. Tony Chen had been studying Council psychology and communication patterns for months. His analysis had proven invaluable in predicting enemy behavior and developing effective propaganda campaigns. The Council leadership is fracturing, Tony reported. Intercepted communications show increasing panic and blame among their high command. They never expected to face a united opposition, and they do not know how to respond to enemies who fight for principles rather than territory. Captain Jake Morrison, now promoted to admiral, commanded the largest human fleet ever assembled. His ships were joined by vessels from dozens of allied species, creating a force unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. President Mitchell, Jake said, "Our combined fleet includes over 8,000 ships. But more importantly, every crew member understands exactly what they are fighting for: the right to be free." The diversity of the Coalition fleet reflected humanity's greatest achievement in this war. Rather than conquering other species, humans had inspired them to fight for themselves. Altarian medical ships worked alongside human battle cruisers. Kepler Federation stealth vessels coordinated with human engineering platforms. Former Council slave species flew captured ships against their former masters. Engineer Amy Rodriguez had spent months integrating different alien technologies into unified systems. Madam President, our technical teams have solved the compatibility issues between different species equipment. Human adaptability combined with alien specialization has created weapons and defenses that surpass anything the Council possesses. President Carol Mitchell felt the weight of history on her shoulders. Humanity had been betrayed, enslaved, and marked for destruction. But instead of being broken, they had become the catalyst for the largest liberation movement in galactic history. The Council made one fundamental error, Carol told the assembled delegates. They assumed that power came from control and deception. They never understood that true strength comes from trust and cooperation. Director Alex Johnson coordinated intelligence operations across Coalition space. His networks included resistance fighters on Council worlds, defectors from Council military units, and sympathetic civilians who had grown tired of authoritarian rule. Madam President, our intelligence indicates that several Council species are preparing to surrender before we even reach their systems. The Zentaran High Command is losing control of their own alliance. This was exactly what Carol had hoped for. The Coalition was winning not just through military force, but through the power of ideas. Species that had lived under Council oppression for centuries were discovering that alternatives existed. Dr. Lisa Parker had become the Coalition's chief diplomatic officer, negotiating with alien species and managing the complex politics of a multi-species alliance. Her success demonstrated humanity's natural talent for bringing different groups together. Madam President, we have received formal requests for alliance membership from 12 additional species. They want to join the Coalition before the final battle, not because they fear losing, but because they believe in what we represent. The final preparations took weeks to complete. The Coalition fleet gathered at staging areas throughout liberated space, while diplomatic teams worked to minimize civilian casualties on Council worlds. This was not a war of conquest or revenge, but a campaign to establish lasting peace. Captain Sam Torres led reconnaissance missions into Council core space, gathering intelligence about defensive positions and civilian population centers. Madam President, the Council has turned Zentara Prime into a fortress, but they have also trapped their own civilian population. Any direct assault would cause massive casualties. Carol had anticipated this problem. Then we do not assault directly. Alex, what is the status of our intelligence operations on Zentara Prime? Director Alex Johnson smiled grimly. We have contacts throughout their government and military. The Zentarans themselves are divided about continuing this war. Many want to negotiate, but their leadership refuses to consider surrender. Then we give their people a choice, Carol decided. Broadcast our terms directly to every civilian on Zentara Prime. Make it clear that we are fighting their government, not their people. Dr. Tony Chen had prepared psychological warfare campaigns designed to break Council morale without requiring massive battles. Madam President, our broadcasts are already having effect. Council military units are reporting increased desertion rates and communication breakdowns. The genius of the Coalition strategy was that it offered something the Council never could: hope for a better future. While the Council ruled through fear and oppression, the Coalition demonstrated that different species could work together as equals. Admiral Jack Thompson reported that the fleet was ready for the final advance. Madam President, all Coalition forces are in position. We can begin the advance on Zentara Prime within hours. Carol looked around the hall at representatives from dozens of species who had come together to fight for freedom. Remember, our goal is not to destroy the Council, but to replace it with something better. We fight not for conquest, but for liberation. As the Coalition fleet began its advance toward the Council's core systems, President Carol Mitchell knew that they were not just ending a war. They were beginning a new era in galactic civilization, one based on cooperation instead of domination. The Council had betrayed humanity, expecting to destroy them quickly and quietly. Instead, they had triggered a revolution that would reshape the galaxy forever. The hunters had become the hunted, and now the final reckoning was at hand.